Hi, I'm Sheri Richerson from experimentalhomesteader.com, and I want to welcome you to my course, Preserving Herbs for Winter Use. And I don't know about you, but I just love growing herbs. I love the fragrance. I love using them in my food, everything from the items that I can to using them fresh in my cooking. I even love infusing them in water. But I live in Indiana, and the fact is, unless I want to grow them on my windowsill or in my greenhouse, I can't grow herbs outside all year round. So, what I have done is I have learned how to preserve herbs to use in the wintertime where it preserves the maximum taste and I can enjoy that delicious flavor of fresh herbs all year long. Now, herbs that you preserve yourself are going to taste a lot better than the ones you buy in the jars at the little grocery store. They're going to be a lot fresher and you're going to know that they came from your own garden. So there's many ways to preserve herbs for the winter, and I'm going to cover a number of those different ways throughout this course. We're going to start with hanging herbs to dry, which is one of the most common ways to preserve your herbs. And it's also one of the easiest. All you need is a way to hang them and a place to hang them. Okay. I'm also going to cover using a hanging herb dryer. Now, I have one of these and I absolutely love it. The amount of herbs that I can get on this is just incredible, and it doesn't take any electricity. They just air dry, and when they're dried, I can take them off and put them in my jars. Okay, another way is to use a window screen. Now, you can use just any window screen, or you can actually get these pre-made window screen herb dryers, or you can make one yourself if you're handy. There's really nothing to them. I'm also going to cover using a dehydrator and tell you some tips about that. You really want a dehydrator that does have a temperature gauge on it because you want to dry herbs at the lowest possible temperature if you're going to use heat. We're going to cover all of that. I'm also going to briefly touch on drying herbs in an oven and a microwave. Now, I don't like microwaves myself, and so drying them in a microwave is a method that I would never use, but that doesn't mean that you wouldn't. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to do that, just in case it is a method that you want to use. I'm also going to cover things like making herb vinegar and why you would want to make it and what the different uses for it are. Preserving herbs in oil. Now, again, this is not a preferred method for me because I just don't use that much oil in my cooking, but some of you may, so we're definitely going to be covering it. I'm going to cover making herb butters, and this is a product that you can make and freeze to use through the winter months, and it's a product that I just absolutely love. I personally don't think anything tastes as good as herb butter. And the longer those herbs are in the butter, the more the flavors mix and the tastier it is as far as I'm concerned. We're going to cover making seasonings, and I'm going to tell you some tips and tricks that you may not have thought about on how to get the most flavor out of those seasonings throughout the winter, and also how to make sure that you have enough herbs to make the number of seasonings that you're going to need for winter use. I'm also going to talk about herbal teas and herbal jellies, as well as teach you how to layer herbs in sugar or salt. And the difference there really depends on what the end use of the product is going to be for. In addition, I'll be covering freezing herbs whole. This works fantastic for basil, and there is a trick to it that really does make it seem like you are picking fresh basil off the plant when you open your packet in the freezer and take the basil leaves out. All of the flavor and all of the scent is right there. It's just like summer. It's wonderful. I'm going to be covering freezing herbs in ice cubes. And you don't have to have fancy little containers, but if you do, I think they're easier because they have lids, but you can use any kind of ice cube tray that you want. I'll be talking about adding herbs to freezer meals because we all know how popular freezer meals are. And we know that a lot of people want their spices in those meals when they put them in the freezer. So all they have to do is dump that meal in their crock pot or put it in the oven or whatever they're going to do with it, and they don't have to do anything else. And the last thing I'm going to cover is how to preserve herbs in sauces that you freeze or can. This is a great way to infuse the taste of those fresh herbs into whatever kind of sauce you're making, and it really does work great. So let's get started.